it's an interesting theme that you're encouraging people to, I mean, people can choose and do other stuff, but the one you're sort of pointing towards, timely, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 2 teenage boys, so this one like really connects for me. And so the challenge we're encouraging everybody to take on this year is 40 hours without technology, 40 hours without screens. And, you know, screen time and like addiction to screens and phone time, it's a real thing. You know, technology is amazing. There's so much amazing things that it can do, that it does, that it enables. But being able to turn off your phone or put it down, to turn away from the screen, to connect with others, to just like connect with the world. It's actually, I think, what young people have told us, and when we've looked at it, is probably what 40-hour famine was like for a generation ago. You know, maybe I'll put us in that category. And trying to go hungry for 40 hours. I'd bet you many young people would find it harder to go without their screen for 40 hours today.
Who is it that comes up with the challenge? Do you come together as a group? You're talking about, you had young people talking to you about this is the hardest thing for us as a generation to do. Is it a collective?
Yeah, the World Vision team certainly like comes up with the campaign and the plan and the vision, and we get stories and connection around where we're going to support, and we'll talk about Solomon Islands.
Yep.
But one of the things I love about the World Vision 40-Hour Challenge, and I think it's so great about it, is it evolves together with the people who participate. So one of the reasons we've gone from the World Vision 40-Hour Famine to the World Vision 40-Hour Challenge is, you know, it started with the Ethiopian famine in the 1980s and responding to that. And over time, you know, whether it's Syrian refugee crisis, water challenges in many parts of the world, the challenges that the world faces, you know, evolve, and we evolve to meet those challenges, to always focus on children and families and life in all its fullness. But the way that young people and others now take on the challenge is so creative and fun. There's all sorts of crazy things, whether it's 40 hours in a gondola, 40 hours of working out, or 40 hours of whatever. And so it's kind of in response to some of those changes and some of the needs that we see where this idea has really come out.
It's a big one.
It is a big one, yeah, and it's a big challenge, and we've got big ambitions, and we'd love for as many young people, schools, churches, anybody who's interested to donate, to engage, to get involved. And I'd love to tell you guys and the listeners around what it's all for.
Yeah,
what does all this fundraising do?
Yeah, let's dig into the main reason why we're doing all the fundraising, or where it's directed to. It's to feed. Ultimately, we're talking about the kids in the Solomon Islands, and you visited the Solomon Islands first time to see what's happening on the ground there.
Yeah, last year I had a chance to visit Solomon Islands and meet with the team there, and visit many of the areas and many remote areas where the World Vision 40-Hour Challenge is going to support with the fundraise and all the donations. And it's pretty incredible in terms of seeing, you know, some of the challenges, which I could highlight briefly, and I'd love to tell you guys an encouraging story around what's possible.
Yeah, totally. So what are the needs and what are the challenges in Solomon Islands particularly?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think why it's really powerful and challenging for us doing the World Vision 40-Hour Challenge, focus on the Pacific this year and our Pacific whānau and neighbors, is that 1 in 6 children are facing hunger in the Pacific, and they have what we describe as severe food poverty. So let me explain what that means. Many of these remote areas, like say in Solomon Islands, went to visit Morale Sound and really remote fishing villages. They rely on fishing or farming and home gardens for the vast majority of their food.
Yeah.
And traditionally what they would do, and this is one of the challenges that they're facing, is they'd have a crop called swamp taro. So swamp taro would grow in the mangrove and the swamps off of the ocean in the back of their villages, and a little bit of mix of salt water and fresh water. And this swamp taro would grow into big, huge taros, which would be a traditional staple food for them, especially in lean seasons that would kind of carry them through. What's happened is with rising sea levels, with big king tides, with different climate challenges for them, the swamp taros, which is their like staple crop, and when they went and showed us these in the village, they're getting swamped over with salt water, and so they can't survive, or they're growing not as well at all.
Yeah,
and so
right.
the food that they're relying on is getting worse and worse and worse, and there's not really many other options. So what we're able to do and work together with communities is do what we call climate smart agriculture. What that means is providing like better seeds, better practices, so that those plants can grow in salt water, so that they're more hardy and can survive, and that they'll have a sustainable food crop. It's planting mangroves together with the community to help with fishing, but also in terms of protecting their villages from rising seawater. And the cool thing is, it's not World Vision coming in and doing these things. It's partnering together in communities, building for their own futures and empowering them to do that. So it can make a real transformational change for communities when we come together in this way.
Can we talk about that transformational change? And you've obviously worked with some of the locals and saw firsthand the impact of your work and their work combined.
Yeah, I would love to say that. One story that really pops in my mind is about a young guy named John. And John's story is one that I think really captures the essence of the challenges, but what's possible. So John grew up in Malaita in a small fishing village, like one of the ones I'm describing. As a young man, he was like the apple of his parents' eye, oldest son of 7, all the hopes and dreams of the community. He talked about how for his 15th birthday, they had this big celebration, and he had this banana cake with green icing that his dad had learned to make. And it was this kind of like, amazing moment for him. They send him off to go to high school in Honiara, in the capital, because there's no schooling out there in the village beyond primary school. So he goes with kind of the hopes and dreams of his community. Picture it. He gets there. He's staying with his uncle. Uncle's not really keeping an eye on him. He's pretty far from the school. All the other kids, have lunches and good clothes and everything, but he's a poor kid coming from the village, and so he's trying to survive and trying to make his way in schooling, but just getting discouraged, getting defeated, and then he falls in with the wrong crowd. Gets together with some other guys. They end up kind of convincing him to kind of steal some eggs and chickens from the local poultry program that they have at the school. So they steal these chickens, they butcher them up and cook them. Long story short, he gets found out. He gets kicked out of school, doesn't want to tell his parents, ends up, pretending to walk to school, hanging with guys on the street corner. At his lowest point, he's brewing Quaso. Quaso is this local brew, like a drug. He's brewing Quaso with these guys in this ravine, like industrial scale, selling it out to the communities. He's got a girl pregnant, but she won't marry him until he changes his life. And he is like in the pit at the bottom. Yeah. He has this miracle moment where he's going to get some cigarettes or something, and one of the young guys who's kind of on the lookout, the like local police SWAT team come and raid this area. But the young lookout gives him the warning, and so he is able to escape. Yeah. All these other guys are off to prison, all the guys he's with, and he sees this as this turnaround moment where God's given him a second chance to turn his life around. So he does so. He's working hard. He's cleaning the streets in Honiara. He's trying to make a way for himself. His girlfriend says she'll marry him and stuff. But he can't make it go in Honiara, so he goes back to the village. And I want you guys to picture the prodigal son.
Yes, what I was thinking of straight away.
That's what it is. Yeah. And so he's coming home like the prodigal son, but like shamed, and he's there in the community, and he's living with his parents. But all the kind of hopes and dreams he had, all the ambitions, he feels like he's failed everybody. So he's there in the village, he's trying to make his way, and it's at this point that World Vision comes in with some programming. Picture what we can do with the World Vision 40-hour challenge. So World Vision comes into the community. We're doing programming like the ones I'm describing, and other programming around income generating activities like how to build a living, but also like savings groups and empowering groups for young people. And so John's on the outskirts of these things. His wife's participating. And at one of the savings group meetings where they learn how to save money and share and then grow a business, the guy who was facilitating that meeting leaves and leading the group, and they're looking for a leader. And so John, despite all his challenges, is still one of the most educated guys in the community, and they're constantly looking for him to take a lead role and say, John, will you lead the group? And through this time, John's been praying with his wife and his dad. He's been praying to God to kind of give him an opportunity, and this is his moment. So he steps up, he takes leadership of the group. Accelerate forward a few months, and John has become this amazing community leader. He's leading the savings groups. He's leading the youth groups. So World Vision local staff told me that this group before John had great intentions but just couldn't get it together. Now they're like a highlight. They're doing amazing stuff. He's started a piggery business for himself, selling and rearing pigs. And here's the amazing part, guys. At the end of it all, two amazing things. One, He's doing so well for himself now. He's helping his father and his family rebuild their home. And it's like it's all come full circle. And then the second thing is for his community, they don't have good sanitation or toilets or anything. On his own initiative with this youth group on their own, not even like World Vision driving them, you just spark a light in somebody. They have now built 56 out of the 78 latrines they've built themselves for all the community members now and all the households. And so the ripple effect of change of what can happen when you see the divine spark, when you help to light it, when you keep it alive, when you support it in someone else, that can kind of spread like crazy. And that's what I love about the World Vision 40-Hour Challenge is that can happen for young people here in New Zealand and taking part. And at the same time, with a young guy like John, it can help to transform somebody's life in the Solomon Islands who can go on to transform the lives of his community.
Absolutely. That ripple effect, eh? It's hard to imagine from here. We're so far removed. We're encouraged to give, and the overarching thing is help feed some kids in the Solomon Islands, and that's great on its own.
Yep.
But that story, the ripple effect that does, it's amazing.
It's amazing. And 40-hour challenge, decades of doing it here, we talked about the history of it. And I think that's why it's so amazing that it continues. We continue to uplift it. We continue to get people involved because, as you guys said, I think the ripple effect of that amazing thing over many decades here in New Zealand continues to pay dividends.
Amen.
Yeah, a real legacy to it. The 40-hour challenge still open. You can sign up now. It's about 2 weeks away, 13th to the 15th of June. Go 40 hours without technology. Get people to sponsor you. Raise the money. It all goes to exactly the kind of stories that TJ has been talking about. Thank you so much for cluing us in on it. And I'm sure there's been a bunch of people challenged and thinking, oh yeah, okay, I can do this. I can get in there, and that's a worthwhile thing. So if you want more details, 40hour.org.nz.
The number 40?
40.
Yep.